Hello and welcome back to Pinky's Critical Thinking channel. I just wanted to have a quick update with a few stories. Well, basically the Ukrainian situation is looking a bit scary, really. I mean, you've got all these countries, I think it's Poland, UK, USA, and now Germany. And if Germany becomes involved, I mean, it's always a bit worrying because they've been neutral since World War II in almost everything. It just, well, I mean, I'm lost for words, really. It's just so scary that it's literally becoming like a world war when you've got all these countries on one side and one on the other. I mean, and no one's talking about diplomacy, although I believe Zelensky has now finally, after refusing to do any peace talks, has asked for peace talks. So I'm wondering if this tank situation is just a threat. I do hope so, because Biden said that if NATO got involved, this would be World War III, and it would be insane, and it would be. So, in light of this, I just wanted to quickly say, if you don't know much about the situation, about what's happening in southern and eastern Ukraine, just do a bit of Googling about 2014 Ukraine. And, well, anywhere between, it was basically 9 years ago it started, about between 2014 and 2000, well, basically up until a year ago, so it would have been up until 2021. So do any Googling, look at media stories from Ukraine, put in the date, 2000, between those dates, and you will find a whole load of media stories reporting on how the Ukrainian, you heard that right, the Ukrainian government was shelling and bombing civilians in the Donbass, Luhansk regions. And it all started because they all voted in like a referendum. They voted in a referendum to become independent states. They didn't want to join Russia. They wanted to become independent states. And the same happened across southern Russia and various places. Now, from that moment onwards, the Ukrainian government at the time, also it'd be a good idea to watch Ukraine on Fire. It's a very famous documentary made by a very famous film director, Ukraine on Fire. So there's a whole backstory to all this, and the media never mentions it. But also Google the worrying rise of Nazism in Ukraine, and you might have to go on page 2 by now because there's so many stories to be filled up about Ukraine now. But put in there 2015, 2016, and you will find The Guardian, the BBC, Reuters, all wrote stories about the worrying rise of Nazism in Ukraine. Now, around this time in February, well, it was not this time, around February last year when Russia went into Ukraine, he said, well, we've got to stop these Nazis. Now, these Nazis were a Nazi battalion. There's a whole story about it. You can go and read about it. It's called the Azov battalion in Ukraine. Go and read about it, and you'll find that these Nazi regiments, which got taken into the government because they used them basically but they tried to calm them down because they stormed Parliament and all sorts, right? So read up about that, and then you'll see that they were used in the Donbass and Luhansk regions. They were terrorizing people. And also, look at what was banned. Now, Zelensky is, by the way, who is an actor. He has been portrayed by the West as this great, wonderful person. He's banned all independent media. He's banned all political opposition. He's banned Russian books and the Russian language, yet 1/3 of Ukrainians speak Russian as a first language. You can read about it. Go to Amnesty International's website, or just put in Google Amnesty International Ukrainian, Ukraine basically, and then they'll come up with because I was trying to think of the actual title of one of the searches, but the Amnesty International, which is, if you don't know, is a human rights organisation. They have actually remarked on this. Anyway, I'm going to read out something because I think it's really important at this time. Going back to WMD in Iraq, etc. Yeah. Now, I'm going to read out this saying. If wars are started with lies, they can be stopped by telling the truth. So we need to be telling the truth. Julian Assange wrote that. Well, we all know the story about Julian Assange. He told the truth and is now in prison. Edward Snowden, he told the truth. He now lives in Russia. When I was younger, if you told the truth and you lived in the old Soviet Union, you had to flee to America to be safe. Now, if you live in the West and you tell the truth, you have to flee to Russia to be safe. I mean, think about it. So, the Ukrainian Donbass situation and Luhansk, I believe, and a lot of those problems along the borders there, along the south, they've been going on for 8 years before Putin went in, and a lot of people, the Russian population, the Russian-speaking population, were being terrorized by Nazis, basically. So what Putin said, to be fair, it's based on truth. It's in the bloody media. Excuse my language. Sorry, I don't mean to swear. But, anyway, I think that's enough for today. I've got some other things to say, but just go and look at that. Speak to you next time. If you like the video, like and subscribe. I can't say that word. Anyway, speak to you soon. Bye-bye.